right, everyone. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Good morning to some of you, although I think it's good evening for most of you. My name is Danni DiFazio, and I am glad you could join us for today's session. The way this will work is I'm just going to go through a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to talk about registration, course selection, a couple of policies that are important for you to know. And then once all of that's done, we'll do question and answer sessions. What I found works best in the past is if you have any questions to type them into the chat window on the webinar screen. And that way, once I'm done with the PowerPoint and I start going through questions, I can just start from the top and I can go through one by one and answer everyone's questions. Excuse me. Plus, it gives you a chance to take a look at all the questions that have been asked already, so you can see if there's something you're wondering if someone else has already asked it. So that way we don't get too many repeat questions, and I can get through everything quickly. I know for some of you this is kind of late, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I want to still have time to get through everyone's questions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, my name is Danni DiFazio. My role at the College of Computer and Information Science is the Associate Director of Graduate Student Services for the master's programs. So what that means is I do some academic advising for the Master's in Computer Science program. If you have questions about registering for courses or anything related to that, I can help you. And then administratively, I do most of the major administrative work for the college for the master's program. So really, if you have questions about just about anything during your time here, you'll probably find me to be your first point of contact. And if it's not something I can answer for you, I can redirect you to someone who can. So, and my work, again, is limited to what we do administratively in the college. So a lot of you probably have questions about your international student status, or you have questions about your bill or things like that. Those are handled by separate offices. So you probably have heard from the Office of Global Services at some point already during your I-20 process. They handle any questions you have about your visa status. So that would be the place to direct those kinds of questions. If you're wondering about your student bill or tuition or anything like that, financially speaking, that's all handled through Student Financial Services Office. We have a separate office that handles that for everyone at the university. So I won't do everything for you. There'll be things that I'll redirect you to other offices for, but you can always come to me if you have questions and you're not sure where to go. My contact information is on this slide. Once you get to campus, you're welcome to come by and see me anytime you have questions. I have walk-in hours that are periods of time where you can just drop by without making an appointment in advance. And I have an appointment calendar online that you can see through your MyNU account, and that shows you when my walk-in hours are. I have, in the fall and the spring, I have walk-in hours every day. In the summer, it's a little less often, but still, I think usually 3 out of 5 days a week I have office hours. So, and if my office hours don't work for you and you need to come by, you can just send me an email and make an alternative appointment, and we'll find another time that works for both of us that you can come in. But I'm usually pretty efficient via email if you have questions. It usually takes 1 business day for me to get back to you, maybe 2 if it's a high volume time. It might take me a little bit longer, but usually about 1 business day. So email is usually pretty quick if you have questions for me. All right, so we're going to start with the curriculum for the MS in Computer Science program. It is a 32 credit program that works out to be 8 courses because our courses are all 4 credits. If you're a full-time student, you're going to take 2 courses per semester. Um, in your first semester, you're limited to that, a maximum of 2 courses, uh, just because graduate coursework is actually a little bit more intensive than undergraduate coursework, and a lot of students find that to be kind of surprising when they start out. So we want you to take your first semester to kind of get adjusted to the program. For many of you, you're getting adjusted to a new place, um, uh, somewhere you've never been before. So in your first semester, you can only take the 2. After your first semester, if you have a GPA of a 3.5 or above, you can be approved to take 3 courses in a semester if you want to finish your program a little bit more quickly, but you have to meet that minimum GPA requirement. And I have had people ask before, do we ever permit people to take 4 courses in the semester? And that we do not do, no matter how good your GPA is. It's just really an unrealistic amount of coursework, even for the best of students, and we want you to succeed while you're here. So 4 courses is not allowed, but 3 would be if you meet the minimum. There are 3 required courses for this curriculum. The first is Programming Design Paradigm, or what we call PDP. That is that course is CS 5010 and CS 5011. You want to register for both of those courses when you sign up for classes. Both sections count as the same course. One is a lecture section, and the other is your recitation or your lab section that supplements the course. Most of your courses are not like that, but this one in particular is. So together, those 2 things make your 4-credit course. I mentioned in my email, and one thing to know about PDP is that it's a pretty intensive course. It's the most intensive course that is a part of this program. And I mention that just because when you're thinking about what class you want to take with PDP, you want to keep in mind the amount of work you're going to have with that class, which means usually what I recommend for students is to take an elective course along with PDP, just because it just balances out how much work you have in the semester. In this course, you have to take it in your first semester. So when registration opens tomorrow, you should sign up for a section of PDP. Aside from PDP, another core course that's required is algorithms. You don't have to take algorithms in any particular semester. PDP is the only course that has a required semester. So algorithms you can take most students will take it in their second semester, but some students will take it later on in their program. It's entirely up to you. Aside from algorithms, there is one more core course, and you get to choose between one of 2. You can either pick managing software development or computer systems. You are welcome to take both of those classes if you'd like. One would count towards your core, and the other would just be an elective. But you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. Aside from your 3 core courses, and you have 5 more courses left to complete the program, you can take any elective in the CS department that you'd like to take, with one sort of requirement in there. You should take 2 of those courses in the same concentration area. We have about 10 concentrations, I think, at this point, anything from graphics, artificial intelligence, human and computer interaction, programming languages, and a whole lot of other ones. So you can choose any one of those concentrations and select at least 2 courses in that area. You can take more than 2 courses in that area. You can take 2 from one concentration, 2 from another concentration, then another one from anything. This is really just a minimum requirement. What you do beyond that is entirely up to you. And this requirement is an internal department requirement that we would like to see because we want you to get your breadth with your core courses, and then we'd like to see you get some depth in an area of your choosing. It's great for when you're looking for jobs that you can say, oh, I had a concentration in artificial intelligence, so this is kind of my area of specialization when I was studying. But this requirement doesn't affect your degree. A lot of students have asked, will my degree when I graduate, will it say my concentration? It won't. All of you, no matter what you do, will get a master's degree in computer science upon the completion of your program, and it will be the same regardless. Like I said, this is an internal department requirement that we ask of you because we'd like to see you get that depth. I mentioned, so you can take any elective in the CS department. Keep in mind, courses open to you are numbered 50, 10, or higher. Any course below that number is either an undergraduate level course or it's part of our Align program, which is a transition program for students to learn the basics of computer science. You all, having gotten into this program, have mastered the basics. So any course numbered underneath 5010 is below the level for a graduate student in this program. So anything above 5010, once you get up to the 7,000 level, these are more advanced or special topics courses. They are also still open to you, but you should keep in mind the level and read if there's any restrictions. Occasionally they'll have a prerequisite requirement, or they'll just require that you have attained a certain knowledge in a particular area before you can register. So that's something to keep in mind, but those courses are open to you as well. Outside of the department, a lot of students will ask at this point, well, you said, CS electives are okay. Can we take electives outside of the CS department? It depends on the elective entirely. We have an elective petition form on our website that you would follow that process. If you're interested in something outside of the CS department, you would submit that form and we would review it and look over the syllabus and the assignments and the content. We would make sure that it's compatible with our program first, and we would make sure that it's as challenging technically as a course from the CS department might be. And if those things are true, then we may allow you to take that course towards your computer science degree. So it's really a case-by-case basis. It depends on the course. On this slide, I've given you a list of all the courses that we're offering in the fall that are open to first semester students. So they don't have any prerequisites or any requirements that you have to complete before you're able to register for these courses. You'll see that there are core courses on here. Technically, if you wanted to take a core course with PDP, I would not, deny you that. That would absolutely be your choice, and it would be something that you're more than welcome to do. It's just a strong recommendation that you choose something other than a core course. We have had students do algorithms or computer systems with PDP and done well, but those students definitely had their work cut out for them, and it was a very intensive first semester for them. So I urge you to consider something else if at all possible. A lot of people will ask me, what should I take with PDP if I shouldn't take a core course? Are there other courses that I would recommend? It's a tough question for me to answer because different students find different courses to be compatible with taking PDP at the same time. I have not really found a course that definitively, everyone says this works out with PDP or this definitely doesn't work out. It's really up to you what kind of courses you like, what kind of subjects you like, and that kind of thing. Some courses that we offer are more project-based. You will work in teams or by yourself on projects, and there's less emphasis on exams. And then we do have other courses that are more exam heavy. That's most of your grade will be made up from your performance on tests and exams, homework assignments, and things like that. So different students like different things and they do well in different kinds of classes. So it is a really hard question for me to answer as far as what class should you definitely take with PDP. So what I recommend to you instead is if you're really feeling unsure about what you want to take, pick a couple of electives and reach out to the instructors who are teaching those courses. And they can give you the syllabus most of the time. They could give you a sense of the projects or the assignments that you'll have. They can give you more details about a particular class and what you can expect if you were to register for that class. And that will give you a better idea of, okay, this is what this class is going to be like. Does that work for me? Is this the kind of class that I like? Or is this the kind of thing that's a little bit more difficult for me personally? So you'll have to talk to some instructors and make some judgment calls yourself on what you feel like is something you would be comfortable with. Which I know is kind of more work than you'd like. It would be so much easier if I could just say, oh, you should definitely take X course in your first semester. Unfortunately, I just can't do that because I'd hate to give some advice in that way and have someone just not be that kind of student and ended up having a tough semester. So I think it's better if you can gather the facts for yourself and then kind of make a judgment call knowing yourself and how you like to study. Aside from the curriculum, one of the major reasons that students come to Northeastern University is our co-op program. For those of you who haven't heard of it, it's an optional program where you would participate in a work experience. And it's kind of like an internship, but the difference between a co-op and an internship is co-op is usually longer. It's a 6 to 8 month placement. So it'll usually be the length of a regular semester plus the summertime. So it's lengthy and it's full time and it's paid. So you would not be taking classes in most cases and just immersing yourself in a 6 to 8 month work experience at a real company that could potentially hire you upon graduation. And it's a really, really great program because it gives you time to get really in depth in a project at this job, so that you really get a sense of what it would be like to work there after you graduate. Most students find it to be a great experience. It really helps them clarify what they want to do. Whether you end up somewhere that you love or you hate, it really, really helps you get a sense of where you want to be when you graduate, and how you want to go about your career once you're finished with school. So it's a really great program, but it is optional. You're not required to do a co-op at all. You can just participate in your classes and graduate from the program with your master's degree and be done with it if that's what you prefer. If you are at all interested in participating in the co-op program, you must complete the Graduate Cooperative Education Seminar before you're allowed to start searching for a position. So you should, if you're at all interested, you should register for this seminar in your first semester. This is a 1 credit seminar, but that 1 credit does not count towards your 32 credits to graduate. Your 32 credits is in academic courses. This is a prep seminar, almost like a workshop, that's required for the co-op program. So it does not count towards your 32 credits. Co-op is, we actually have a separate co-op team that works for the college. We have a co-op coordinator and like a director, and then we have 2, hopefully 3 by the fall, co-op advisors whose specific job is to teach this seminar and to help you with the entire co-op process. So that's not something that's part of my job. It's not my area of expertise um, to help you with co-op. So I will leave most of this co-op information to the co-op coordinator to talk to you about at orientation. She'll have a whole session with you all to give you more details about co-op, how it works, why you should sign up for the seminar, and all of that information. So I will leave that to her to talk to you more about later. All right, so at Northeastern, we have two main semesters. There's the fall semester where you guys are going to start. That goes from September to December. We have the spring semester, which goes from January to April. And those are your required semesters. So as long as you're in this program during those semesters, you should either be taking classes or you should be on your co-op. If for any reason you need to take one of those semesters off, you would have to process a leave of absence with us because those are your regular required semesters. In addition, we also have summer, and summer is broken up into 3 different terms. Summer 1 is the first half of the summer season. Summer 2 is the second half, and then summer full is the whole length of the summer season. All the summer terms are optional. You are not required to be registered for any of the summer terms. You can take the summer off. You could travel in the summer. You can look for an internship in the summer. You have a lot of freedom in your summer to do what you like. And you do not have to be full-time in the summer, whereas in the fall and in the spring, for most of you who are on F1 visas, you are required to be full-time in those terms. In the summer, you could take just one class and that would be fine. You're not required to be full-time in the summer at all. You could take more than that. You could take 2 or 3 summer classes. But one thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about that is just that since summer is shorter, especially summer 1 and summer 2, which are extra short, those classes are intensive because it's the same content you would get from a spring or a fall class condensed into a shorter period of time. So while you can take as many summer classes as you want to, I wouldn't recommend overloading yourself in the summertime just because of how much work it is to move through the same syllabus, but at a shorter period of time. Because summer is an optional semester and because our faculty are very immersed right now in research and cutting edge technology and all of that, we don't have a huge summer schedule. 2 summers ago and before that, we were offering 1 or 2 courses in the summertime, which was really not a lot. The past 2 summers, we've been able to expand to 6, which is a big difference, although still not close to a full schedule, but it's still a lot more courses than it used to be. And we hope to continue to expand for next summer, which will be your first summer here. So on this slide, you see 6 courses we were able to offer in this summer 2017 time period. So, and we are actually offering multiple sections of more than one of those courses. So we are expanding, and we hope to expand more. But that's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about your course schedule and how you want to plan out your classes. Going back to fall and spring terms, the core courses and many of our popular electives are offered every fall and every spring. So it's a little bit easier to plan those out. But there will be some electives that are only offered in the fall or only offered in the spring. If you go to the link on the slide, or if you go to your MyNEU account and go to the registration section and go back, you can actually go back to previous semesters to see what was offered before. And that will really help you to to get an idea of things that we don't offer every semester, so you can kind of plan accordingly in your head. So when you go to register, it will obviously be through my NEU account. There is a registrar menu under the self-service tab where you can go to do a lot of different things, see the schedule of classes, go to the course catalog, look at your grades, your transcript, things like that. And you obviously want to click on course registration when it's time for you to go in and register. You're going to add and drop classes, and then you're going to have to pick the term that you're registering for. Registration happens one term at a time. So for now, you're only focusing on the fall semester, fall 2017 semester. You won't start registering for the spring semester until partway through fall. So right now, you're just focusing on your 2 classes and possibly your co-op seminar for the fall. And when you're picking your registration term, just make sure that you're picking the right term. You'll find multiple options for fall 2017. You'll find one that says law quarter, it might say CPS quarter. You're looking specifically for that fall 2017 semester. I've had students, say that, oh, I tried to register, but it says I'm not a student for that term. What happened? And it's usually because the wrong term is picked. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're going to register. At the top of this slide here, you'll see what a basic program course listing looks like. When you're looking through the class options, you'll see all kinds of information on there. Most of it is self-explanatory, but I'll go over a couple of things. So this is a course listing for PDP. You'll see the number that's boxed in green on the slide, CS5010. I mentioned that number before. That's the course number, and it's sort of akin to the title of the course. All PDP always is CS5010. You'll never see PDP be another number unless we completely redo all of our courses, which is unlikely for you to see happen. So that's the course number. In the purple box, you see a section number. So some courses, like PDP, for example, we offer multiple sections of that course in a given term. So in the fall, for example, I think you're going to see 3 or 4 sections of PDP. All PDP sections are the same content. You're going to learn the same things throughout the course of taking that course. The difference you'll find in the sections is usually revolving around the meeting time. Different sections of PDP will meet on different days at different times. Also, when you find different sections of a course, they may be taught by different instructors. In some cases, instructors will teach a course differently. And in other cases, all instructors teaching a course will teach it the same way. That's the case for PDP. You'll find Mitchell Wand and Professor Klinger. Those are the 2 instructors for PDP in the fall. They work together and they teach the course in the same way, and they teach the course on the same schedule. So there really isn't any difference between Professor Wand's section and Professor Klinger's section as far as the way the course will be presented to you. Other courses may be different. Other courses you may find that instructors teach at a different pace. They may have a different assignments. So there will be differences sometimes depending on who's teaching. So those are the basic differences between the sections, mostly the time it's taught and occasionally the instructor. Otherwise, all the sections are the same in terms of what you'll actually get out of the course. The content, the major content that the course is about will be the same. And the other number that you find on a course listing is boxed in red on the screen. It's the CRN number. It's often confused with the course number, but these are different. The CRN number is unique for each section of a course, as well as for the term in which the course is taught. So Section 1 of PDP in the fall will have a different CRN from Section 2 of PDP in the fall, and it will also have a different CRN from Section 1 taught in the spring. So it's a unique number for that particular section. When you're going through the registration process, there may be a point where it asks you for the course CRN number, and sometimes people input the course number thinking it's the same thing, but it's actually different. And if you're ever having issues, you're getting an error while you're registering or anything like that, and you'll email me for help, a lot of times I'll ask you for the CRN number specifically. So that's something to keep in mind if you have any trouble registering for a particular course, you're getting an error. It's helpful if you reach out to me if I get the CRN number. One other thing I want to point out on the course description, the course listing, is the campus. It will say, you may or may not be aware, we have multiple campuses now at Northeastern University, multiple graduate campuses. Aside from Boston, which is our original campus, we also have Seattle campuses and a Silicon Valley campus and a Charlotte, North Carolina campus. And we may even be having more campuses in the coming years. So the registration system does not prevent you from registering for a course that's not your campus. If you are a Boston student and you register for a Seattle course, the system won't stop you. It's actually your job to make sure that you're registering for a course on the right campus. Courses that have the campus listed are not remote courses. So if a course is listed for Boston, you have to physically be in Boston in order to take that course. You have to show up at the class meetings and all of that. So you don't want to register for a Seattle course as a Boston student because there's no way you're going to make those meetings every week. And occasionally we do offer online courses. It doesn't happen a lot. We don't have a ton of those options, but we do occasionally, maybe one or two courses a semester can be online. Those courses will say online or virtual for the campus. So if you're seeing a city, then that course is not online. If you're seeing the word virtual or the word online, then that's what you'll see. Then that means that that course is open to students on any campus. I mentioned before prerequisite. Sometimes when you're registering for a class, you'll get an error on your screen, and it'll say prerequisite and test score error. What that means is that there is a required course that you have to take before you can register for the course that you're trying to register for. So you would either need to hold off on that course and take the prerequisite at that time, or you can reach out to the instructor of the course and ask for a prerequisite waiver. Whether or not that happens depends on the instructor and the requirements of the course. So some instructors will feel that the prerequisite's more of a suggestion and they'll waive it for you. Some instructors will ask you to give them a little information about your background so they can say, okay, well, you have some experience in this, so I'll waive the prerequisite for you. Some instructors will say, I don't want to completely waive the prerequisite, but you should take the prerequisite at the same time as you take this course. That happens occasionally. Or they might say no, and they might say that you really need to take the prerequisite before you can take my class. So it depends on the situation, and it's up to the instructor. So that's who you would need to contact if you're getting a prerequisite error. And if that instructor agrees for a waiver, then they would contact me and let me know, and I can clear that restriction for you. But I have to have the instructor's permission first. A co-requisite, one of the only classes that you have that situation for is PDP. So I mentioned before how you have to take CS 5010 and CS 5011 for PDP. So you have to register for both of those things at the same time, otherwise you'll get a co-requisite error when you try to register. As I mentioned in the email, once registration opens on the 10th, it stays open until the start of the semester. So you'll have plenty of time over the summer months to add and drop courses and make changes to your schedule. And this actually, and then, I'm sorry, the period of time from the first day of classes, which is going to be September 6th, until 2 weeks after that day, that time period is known as the add drop period. So during that time, even though classes have started, you can still make changes to your schedule without any penalties. So financially speaking, if you're adding and dropping classes, your bill will just even out. You don't have to worry about any changes happening to your bill. You will not be charged for any course that you drop during the add drop period. Additionally, most instructors are pretty flexible. They know that this is the add drop period. So if you miss the first class of something, but you add it during this add drop period, usually there's some flexibility there with the instructor to just catch up and make sure you're where you need to be. So this is that period of time where you have the freedom to continue to make changes before you're locked in. After that 2 weeks is up, it is still possible to make changes to your schedule, but it's a different process for one thing. It requires you to get a lot of signatures. And the other thing is if you drop a course after the add drop period, you will be charged for that course. So initially, when the add drop period is over, you could get a partial refund, but if we're moving a few more weeks later into the semester, you won't get any refund for the course. So really, if you're making any changes to your schedule, you should really keep that contained to that 2-week add drop period at the latest. If you have an emergency situation or a tough situation where you do need to make changes, you'll have to speak with me, and we'll have to see what we can work out for you, but you will be subject to charges at that point. Um, so when registration opens tomorrow, you may notice that there will be some classes that are going to be full already. The way that registration works at Northeastern is we give priority to students who are closer to graduating. So students who will be in their last semester get to register first, and then there's and it's based on credits. And then a next group gets to go after the first group, and then new students every semester always register last. The thinking behind that is that you already have one class that you have to take in your first semester, so you're only looking for that second course, that elective. And you have more flexibility in the sense that you haven't taken anything yet, so there's a little bit more open to you. Whereas a student who's closer to graduating is going to be a little bit more restricted. They'll have taken a lot of classes already, and they'll have very specific ideas in mind as to what they need to take before they graduate. So that's kind of the idea behind the priority registration, which can be kind of a bummer for a first semester student because you're going to start registering and you're going to find a lot of things to be full. What I say to that is to keep an open mind. I would say most of the time, whatever students register for the first day of their registration, many, many times is not what they end up with when classes actually start. You have a lot of time between now and September. A lot of students will be making changes to their schedule, adding and dropping and switching courses over the course of the next few months. So just because you don't get something that you want on the first day of registration does not mean that you won't get it by the time classes start. So keep an open mind. And the other thing that you can do is we have a waitlist system when you register. The way that works is if a class is full, you'll be given an option to add your name to the wait list for that course. When you add your name, it puts you on the end of the list. And when someone drops and a seat opens up in that course, the first person on that list will get an email to their Husky email account stating that there's an open seat and that person is being offered that seat. Once the email goes out, that person has 24 hours to accept that seat, to go online and register for that open seat. If that person does not register within that 24-hour time period, then the system moves on and the seat is offered to the next person on the list automatically. So if you put your name on a wait list, it's really important that you check your Husky email address every day, because if you miss your registration window, then you've missed it and you're out of luck, unfortunately, because that seat's already been offered to someone else once that window is over. So, and I can't, and we cannot, unfortunately, fix that for you. If you missed your window, you've missed it. We can't do anything about it. You'll have to, if you're still interested in that class, you'll have to put your name back on the wait list at the end. So, something to keep in mind when you're thinking about classes and when you're registering for a wait list. You want to make sure you check your email every day so that you don't miss that. Another thing to know about the wait list is if you're on a wait list, you are not considered registered for the course. You're just on a list hoping for a spot. So you'll find that the system prevents you from registering for more than 9 credits in your first semester. These 9 credits don't count towards anything you're waitlisted for. So you're more than welcome to re-register for 2 classes and be on a waitlist, be on 2 waitlists, 5 waitlists, 10 waitlists. That part of it doesn't matter because you're not actually registered for the course. If you're offered a seat in a waitlisted course, you have to drop something in order to add that course. But the waitlist part itself does not have any limits. And then the only other thing on this slide is when you're looking at a course listing, it'll tell you the meeting time, the day, and the time that the class session happens. It uses an initial rather than writing out the whole day. It'll use M for Monday, 6 to 9 p.m. It's pretty obvious, except for one strange one, which is if you see an R, it means Thursday. It tends to throw people off because there's no day of the week that starts with an R, so it can be kind of confusing. So I just point that out there, just in case. A few policies to know. We have a 2-part GPA requirement for you to stay in the program and for you to graduate from this program. The first part is that your overall GPA, your average for your courses, must be a 3.0 or better. If your GPA falls below that 3.0, we'll put you on academic probation, and then you'll have 1 semester to bring that average back up to the required level. Students that do not bring their GPA back up may be dismissed from the program. So it's really important. This also plays into when you're picking your classes, making sure you're not biting off more than you can chew, making sure that you're not taking on more than you can handle, because you do have to maintain this GPA requirement. The other part of the requirement is that your core courses, so PDP, algorithms, and either software development or computer systems, you must have a 3.0 average in those courses as well. If this number falls below the 3.0, it does not necessarily mean that you put on academic probation just based on that number alone. If your overall GPA meets the minimum, then you'll continue to be fine and you won't be placed on academic probation. But you'll have to address the core course GPA before you graduate. We won't clear you to graduate unless your core average is that 3.0 or better. Another important policy is that we require you to be on campus during the first week of every semester. We know that sometimes you go home for break and you just want to stay a little bit longer. You just want to extend that family time a little bit longer. Maybe your sister's getting married, or grandpa's 90th birthday party is happening, or something like that. And we do understand that life happens, but we do require, regardless, that you be on campus when the semester starts every term. It's important for you to be here and ready to start classes when the semester starts. And if we find that you are skipping your first class in a semester and coming back late, we will drop you from your classes until you return to campus, and you won't be able to register until you come back to campus. So it's really important that you're here. The only exception to this is if there's an emergency situation, medical or something similar. Obviously, we'll work with you in cases like that. But in all other situations, it is really important that you're here. The registrar's office, if you go to their website, northeastern.edu/registrar, you'll find on the left navigation bar there is a calendar link, and they have an academic calendar not only for this coming year, but for the next I think 3 or 4 academic years. So even starting in September, you can be aware of when the term starts every semester throughout the course of your program, even into later years. So the information is there for you specifically so you can plan around it and be here when you need to be here. So, and this includes your first semester. We do require that you're here on time for your first semester. And this includes orientation. We also want you to be here for orientation. Now, this happens before classes start. Classes are starting on September 6th for the fall, which is a Wednesday. The specific details of orientation have not been finalized yet. Unfortunately, it's not until midsummer that we have access to scheduling certain things. But it will take place either Monday or Tuesday before classes start. One of those 2 days is when it will happen. So you should plan to be on campus for that point. It is unlikely that we would schedule it before that Monday. So if you plan for Monday, then you're all set. Either Monday or Tuesday you'll have orientation, and then Wednesday classes will start. One last policy that I want to mention before we move into questions is our policy on academic integrity. I will talk about this more at orientation, but I bring it up now because this is the kind of policy that it's really, really important for you to understand the ins and outs and all the pieces of this policy. This is one of those cases where ignorance of the policy does not excuse you from the policy, so I mention it now because it's good to get started making sure you're familiar with this. I mean, it's pretty obvious that things like cheating and plagiarism, we don't allow that here. But academic integrity encompasses all the ways in which you would not be doing your own individual work. We have an expectation that you will earn your degree on your own merit, and that you will not use other people's work, or you will not work with other people on assignments that are expected to be independent, or anything of that nature. It's really, really important that you adhere to this policy for a number of reasons, just for the reputation of the university, and obviously all of the work that the instructors put into teaching these classes for you, but it's also really important for yourself. From an integrity standpoint, just being honest and doing honest work is really important. And it's also important because the consequences of this can be pretty severe. If you violate this academic integrity policy, you could fail a class. You could be denied co-op. You could be denied assistantships. You could be dismissed from the program. which does happen. I would say every semester we dismiss one or two people on the basis of academic integrity. It's pretty serious and it's really important, and it's something that's very important to the college. So the policy, the university policy, is on this website here that I put on the slide. Um, I will go over the college policy in more detail at orientation, but for now, start to familiarize yourself and understand what this means. And my advice to you going forward in classes is, if you are ever in a class and you're not sure if you're allowed to work with other students, you're not sure if you're allowed to use information you find on the internet, all of that stuff, if you're ever in doubt, always, always, always ask your professor. It's much better to come to them ahead of time and ask than it is to not know and make a decision and then find out that you violated the policy. So this is really important. I know it's kind of a serious thing and also kind of uninteresting to listen to me talk about, but it is really important, and that's why I bring it up now. All right. So now I will move on and I will focus on the questions that have been coming in on the chat window. I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down one at a time. Again, make sure that you're checking to see what's already been asked before you submit a question, just so that I don't have to go over things more than once if it's not necessary. All right. So this question came in, I think, at the very beginning, and I probably came in before I addressed it, but I'll go quick right now. I can see that courses are already full, so what should we do? For now, waitlist, waitlist, waitlist. For now, you just have to be patient. I assure you that you will be able to have a full schedule for the fall semester. You may not get your first choice class per se, but you should be able to get something that you're at least satisfied with, if not super excited about. So for now, just waitlist and be patient. Is the course syllabus, structure, and content available online? It depends on the class. Some instructors will put their syllabus online, or they'll put it on their own personal pages, their teaching pages, and some don't. In any case, you can always reach out to the instructor to get this information, and he or she should be able to, if they can't give you the syllabus, they should at least be able to give you more information. When do we start applying for co-op cycle 1 and cycle 2? I am not going to talk about this. This is for the co-op coordinator to talk to you about at orientation. But generally, cycle information, it happens during your co-op seminar. For now, you don't have to worry about it. Can you provide the link where the concentrations are on the website? Yes. So I don't know if you're familiar with the college's website, ccs.ne. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm having a moment. It's ccis.northeastern.edu, and that is the college's page. And then you can go from there to academics, and you can select your program, and there is a link there that has program requirements. It'll take you to the course catalog, and that will give you all the concentrations. Otherwise, if you want this information, you can email me later today, and I can just give you the direct link, but you can find it if you go to the college's website. Can you provide the email ID for the co-op coordinator for CS? That's also something you can find on the website, or if you email me, I can give it to you. But for the most part, they're probably going to tell you to be patient and wait for orientation, where you can get all the information. Or also, the co-op seminar, the instructor who teaches the co-op seminar is one of our co-op advisors, so you can also reach out to him. But again, a lot of details will be given to you at orientation, so there's really not a whole lot you need to worry about for co-op right now. For now, just sign up for the seminar, if you're interested in co-op, and they'll talk to you more about it at orientation. Courses like Foundations of AI and Natural Language Processing are already full. We'll be able to get these courses in the first semester. Like I mentioned, waitlist, and just be patient. It's entirely possible. It really depends on the students who are currently registered and how many of them drop, but I guarantee you a lot of dropping happens before the semester starts. Could a student simultaneously do the co-op seminar course and search for co-op at the same time? No, you have to finish the co-op seminar before you can start searching for a job. You have to do the seminar first. If a course is not being offered on the Boston campus for fall 2017, will it never be offered in Boston, or will it be available in some other term? It really depends on the course and the instructors that we have to offer it. What I would recommend is you go, like I said before, go back through the previous semesters and see what we've offered in the past. If there's a course that we haven't offered in 2 to 3 semesters previously, we probably don't have an instructor to teach it at this point in time. But it really depends on the course. And Northeastern University and CCIS in particular are in a huge hiring upswing right now. I can't even tell you how many new instructors, faculty members we have added over the past couple of years, and we're still adding. We're not done yet. So we expect to be offering more rather than less in the coming year to 2 years. Is it possible to have a course and its prerequisite in the same semester? Yes, as I mentioned before, you have to get that permission from the instructor, and he or she may say that you don't have to take it first, but you can take it at the same time. So it's possible, but it depends on what the instructor feels is most appropriate. If there's a 15-minute gap between 2 different classes, would that be an issue? I want to know if classes overextend after the actual hours and I might be late for my next class. Classes, generally speaking, they end on time because of this exact reason. Other students may have classes that they have to attend otherwise. So I have not heard any large complaints about classes ending after when they're scheduled. As far as I know, that's not a problem. 15 minutes 15 minutes should be plenty of time to get between classes. This is a kind of a big campus, but that should be enough time. Can we register for the same course with multiple instructors if waitlisted? It doesn't matter. There's no restriction on registering for waitlists. You can register for as many waitlists as you want, like I said before. When do we pay for the courses? You don't get billed until after you register, and it won't be in real time. So it's not like you register and then that day your bill will be available to you. Student Financial Services does the billing process, so I don't know the specific days that bills are posted or updated, but I think it's usually, I want to say it's maybe 2 to 3 weeks after you register is when you first see your bill, and then there will be a deadline on that bill by which you need to pay it. And then going forward, if you make changes to your courses, like I said, if you're just exchanging one course for another and you're registered for the same credits regardless, it won't affect your bill. Like if you've paid it and then you drop a class and add a different one, you're not gonna get a new bill because it's the same number of credits. So yeah, so your bill should be posted within a few weeks, I believe. And the day that the bill is due will be right on the bill. And if you have questions or if you aren't able to pay your bill by the due date, you should reach out to Student Financial Services as soon as possible and work with them on that issue. If we're waitlisted for a course, where can we see our number on the wait list? I don't know. I'm actually, it's kind of funny because I can't see what students see when they look on my NEU. So I do think that you can see that number, maybe in your registration, in your personal schedule. I think it should list all of the courses you're registered for and then all of the courses you're waitlisted for. And I believe that's where it says that number. But I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, just because I don't even know what the student side of my NE looks like. I can only see the advisor side. So if a student is registered for CS but is interested in a data science course, is it possible to take that course? So I mentioned before elective petitions. So that applies to data science courses as well as a course from another college. You have to submit an elective petition in order to take the course, and we'll take a look and see if we can approve you. Do we have any fixed attendance requirements in classes? So one requirement is, like I mentioned before, you must be present for the beginning of the semester. So you have to attend all your first classes. Um, Other than that, it depends a little bit on the instructor. Some instructors will take attendance every day and they expect you to be there, and they will dock points. Other instructors don't take attendance. They don't monitor specifically whether or not you're there, because they feel like you're adults and you should take responsibility for your own education. Um, so it really depends on the class. It's really important. This is one of actually the really important reasons why you should attend the first day of classes, is because the instructor will go over the syllabus and what they expect of you. Um, in general, as far as my perspective is concerned, unless you are ill or have an emergency, you should be in class. Um, Skipping classes is a good way to get behind. It's a good way to miss information, um, not only about the subject you're supposed to be learning about, but also about any assignments or projects or tests or anything like that. Um, so I would say, as long as there's no emergency, you should attend class. And if you cannot attend class, regardless of whether or not your instructor takes attendance, you should be informing your instructor ahead of time if you're going to miss a class. It's, number one, courteous, and number two, the only way you're going to know what you're going to miss. And it also shows the instructor that you're taking responsibility for your own learning, and instructors definitely look positively on that, and they're willing to work with you in any way. They're willing to work with you a lot more as long as you're taking responsibility for your own education, which you should do. Can we take more than 8 credits in a semester? I addressed this previously. So in your first semester, the answer is no. Well, 9 credits in your first semester just because of the co-op seminar. But that's the maximum for your first semester. After your first semester, if you have a GPA of a 3.5 or better, you could be approved to take an extra course in a semester. But 3 would be the maximum. We never approve you to take 4. Are labs part of the courses? Yes. So not every class is going to have labs. Most classes at the graduate level don't. PDP is one of those courses. So that's that 5011 part that you have to register for as well. That's part of the course. Labs are not separate. They're not a separate course. They're the same. Any external online courses that can add to our credits? Not sure I fully understand the question. Um, I I assume by external you mean outside of the college, maybe. If that's the case, just like anything else, you'd have to submit an elective petition, and we would have to evaluate the course. as to whether or not it can count towards your MS in computer science degree. Um, yeah, you can't just take courses outside of the college, online or otherwise, without getting permission from us first. And if that needs clarification, if that's maybe not what you're asking, feel free to re-ask your question and just include a little more information. So sorry if I didn't address that properly. I think I got it, but I'm not sure. When does registration for spring start? Halfway through the fall, approximately. You'll get that information specifically from both me and the registrar's office when we get to that point where you need to start preparing for that. But it's November. I want to say November, but off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. Will we also be charged for courses we are waitlisted in? No, because you're not registered for the course. You don't get charged for anything you're not registered for. Waitlist is just a list. Don't think of it as anything other than a list. How many total students are admitted for MSCS in fall 2017? I don't know about admitted. I can tell you because I don't do admissions. I can tell you that I think there are currently 200 and maybe 20 who are currently enrolled for fall, or I should say, who currently have submitted a deposit for fall and have not otherwise told us that they can't come or are deferring their admission. So right now it's 220. I expect by the time we get to the fall semester, it will be less than 200 because we usually have a number of people who either decide to defer their admission or decide that they just can't come or they choose another institution. So probably closer, it will probably be under 200 by the time fall starts. Can we get the PowerPoint and audio recording of this webinar? The PowerPoint, absolutely. Just send me an email later today and I will send it to you. Actually don't do audio recordings of the webinars just because the questions are usually very specific afterwards. And I find that it's just, webinars are just easier if you're participating in them as opposed to afterwards. So I don't have an audio recording, but I can absolutely do the PowerPoint for you. When is the OGS orientation that is meant for international students? I talked a lot about our CS orientation that was specific to the college's program orientation. This person, what Tanmay is mentioning, is the international student orientation that's put on by the Office of Global Services. I don't know when that is. It's organized by OGS, and I don't think they've announced the date yet. They have the same scheduling constraints that we do in terms of when we can schedule stuff. So probably you won't hear until midway through summertime, and they will let you know themselves when that's going to be. They usually are similar, 1 to 2 days before classes start, and they usually plan around college orientations, so it should not coincide at the same time as ours. Are scholarships offered at the start of the semester? Scholarships are done by the admissions team, so they do automatically review all applicants for a scholarship. I'm honestly not sure what the time frame is for when they announce those, if they have done it already or if it's coming up. But if you're curious, you should email the admissions team that you spoke to during the applications process to see if there's any any scholarships have been awarded. There's not a lot, unfortunately, for graduate students. Undergraduates get way more funding. That's kind of just a weird quirk of the way the system works. But we do have a little bit. A few offered, but it's done by the admissions team. Outside of that, if there are any scholarship opportunities for continuing students, we send out emails. if we're aware of a scholarship either at Northeastern or even outside of Northeastern, but that our students would be eligible for, we send out emails about that. Um, the other thing that happens is occasionally alumni will donate, and we'll use that money towards scholarships for our students. And again, if that's the case, if that comes up, we will send an email out to all the students and how you can apply for those things. Are we supposed to register for the co-op seminar along with our first semester courses? Yes. If you're interested in co-op at all, your co-op seminar, you should register for it for the fall. How are scholarships awarded? I just talked a little bit about that. What about RATA and GA opportunities? For the most part, first semester students, there aren't any of those opportunities for you. After your first semester, that's another story. We have a regular process for TAs. We send out an email to all current students before the start of a new term. So, for example, for the spring semester in late fall, there will probably be an email that goes out to all master students that the TA application is open and you will be able to apply to TA for any course that you've taken with us. There isn't really an official process for research assistantships. Most of those kinds of positions are reserved for doctoral students. For master students, if anyone isn't awarded an RA, it usually happens organically. So what I mean by that is you would talk to your faculty, talk to instructors who are working on projects you're interested in, and see if they have any space for a master student to work with them. But there is not, like I said, a formal process for research assistantships. And this also, brings up something that people may or may not ask farther down the line here, but there are on-campus jobs available. That is not done through the college specifically. If you go to your MyNEU account, there's a student employment section. All the on-campus jobs that are available are listed on that platform, and that's also how you apply for on-campus jobs, is through your MyNEU account. So if you're interested in one, that's where you would go. I would just remind you to keep in mind not overextending yourself for your first semester, because it is a big transition for a lot of students coming to a new country, coming to a new institution, learning how we do things here at this college, and then also your PDP requirements. So I just caution you just to keep that in mind if you're thinking about an on-campus job for your first semester. Just remember not to overextend yourself. What is the ideal date to arrive? Academically speaking, my biggest concern is just making sure that you are here for orientation, which, like I said, was either the Monday or Tuesday before classes start. Otherwise, it's kind of up to you and your situation if you're able to secure housing before you get here. If you are not able to and you want to come here to secure housing in the first place, it really, really depends on your situation. We have an office at Northeastern called the Off-Campus Student Services Office. Off-Campus Student Services, yes. They have information about temporary housing, which we don't have on campus, but there are some accommodations in the Boston area that do temporary housing. And they have information about finding permanent housing while you're here. I would go there, look at their resources. They have a database where you can connect with other students looking for roommates, students looking for housing, and I would use their resources to kind of start thinking about that and getting a sense of when you need to be here. I say get here as soon as you can. I would say the earlier the better to give yourself time to adjust to being here, get settled in your housing. And the other thing is to explore Boston. Boston is a really cool city. There's a lot of stuff to do. It can be kind of weird to navigate though. So it's something you kind of want to get used to, maybe before you start having your responsibilities with your classes. Um, it's also in August. I mean, it's hot. It's really hot here, but it's also like really nice weather for exploring and doing things in the city and stuff like that. So you guys actually have an advantage over over the poor students who come in January, because in January it is freezing here. It is very cold. There's usually lots of snow. You don't want to be outside at all in January. So I would say come as soon as you can. Give yourself time to get settled and to explore Boston. But as far as the specific date, it really depends on what your situation is and whether or not you're able to secure housing before you get here or if you wait till you come. Is it true the amount for every credit is increased? Will the I-20 change if that's true? I assume you mean tuition. Uh, Tuition tends to go up every year, um, usually not by a significant amount, although I guess whether or not significant depends on you and your situation. But usually once a year, tuition does increase, but that does not affect your I-20. Once you've gotten your I-20, you're all set. If the tuition changes after you get your I-20, then that doesn't affect. You don't need to get a new I-20 if the tuition changes. But as far as I know, and the other thing too is when the OGS is doing the I-20 e-form, um, credit increase is anticipated already in that. So it shouldn't be a problem for your I-20. Can we take courses from the data science program as electives? Someone had asked that previously as well. It's the same process as the elective petition that I mentioned before. You have to submit the petition and we'll let you know. Since PDP has to be taken in the first semester, will there not be a wait list for that? No, there shouldn't be. We hopefully have enough seats already for everyone to register for PDP. Should that not happen, we'll increase the capacity of the courses, but we don't do a wait list because it just is not necessary. We'll make sure you get a seat in a section of PDP. Can I take two different courses that meet at the same time? No, you can't. That's not possible because you have to attend the class, and if the class, you have to attend all your classes, and if they meet at the same time, it would be I mean, unless you have some kind of awesome technology like Hermione Granger and Harry Potter and you can be in two places at once, which would be really cool. In that case we can talk, but otherwise no, you can't take two classes that meet at the same time. And as far as do professors upload lecture recordings, not typically, no. Some may. It depends on the instructor and how they want to do things, but I don't, not really. And even if they did, it wouldn't change my answer. You still have to be present for your classes. There was a recent hike in the per credit fees. How might that affect us? I don't do billing, so like I said before, tuition goes up a little bit every year. That's pretty standard. You're charged the tuition that applies to the semester that you start. And then if you're here for a year and in a year, of course, tuition goes up, you'll get charged the new tuition rate. So, but I don't know about the timing of the tuition hike that you're referring to, or even how much it was. But like I said, it goes up every year. That's pretty standard. So you get charged whatever the rate is for the semester you're attending. How does a CS Aligned student register for their courses? This session is not for Aligned students, so you should tell your friend to reach out. There is actually a different advisor for the Aligned program who your friend should hear from. And I mean, that person, if they haven't heard yet and they're anxious, they can email me and I will forward it to the right person. But this session is not for that. Yes. Next question is about readings and project courses. Great question. I forgot to address that before, so I'm glad that you asked. We have two kinds of courses, a project course and a readings course, which are a little bit different from your standard academic courses. These are individual instruction courses where you would meet one-on-one with an instructor, working on a specific project, or readings for a specific topic of your choosing. So this is designed by you and the instructor, what you want to study and how you want to, what kind of project or what kind of information you have by the end of the semester. These are also 4 credits, just like an academic course, and they do count as electives. They do not count as concentrations, but they do count as electives. They're not required. You don't have to take a readings or a project course in order to graduate, but if you'd like to, you are welcome to take a maximum of 2. And you cannot take them, either course, until you have 16 credits. So you have to do 2 semesters before you're eligible for a project or readings course, but you are welcome to do that if you choose. And along a similar line, I don't think anyone's asked me this, but I'm sure it will come up eventually. There is a thesis option for this program, and I emphasize option. You're not required to do a thesis in order to graduate, but you're welcome to if you'd like. It's a 2-semester commitment, and it would be 8 credits total. So you would do a 4-credit project course, and then you would follow that in the next semester with a 4-credit thesis course. Your project course would be doing research and setting up to do a thesis proposal by the end of the semester. And then your second course, your thesis course, would be actually writing the thesis and defending by the end of the semester. So that is an option as well. Again, doesn't count towards a concentration, but it would take up 8 credits for your electives. Once we're registered for courses, are we supposed to stick to attending a particular section, or can we attend any section? The default rule is you need to be registered for what you are attending. So if you're registered for section 1 of PDP, that is the section that you should attend, unless your instructor gives you permission otherwise. Part of that is a capacity thing. Some courses are in classrooms that only have enough seats for the number of students that are registered for the class. So you wouldn't be able, we're not allowed to have students beyond the number of seats, physical seats. Otherwise, like I mentioned before a little bit, some classes, different sections are taught by different instructors who might approach the syllabus differently. They might teach at a different pace or whatever. So if that's the case, then attending another section would probably just confuse you as opposed to help you. So like I said, the default is attend what you're registered for, unless your instructor gives you permission to do otherwise. how much chance do we have to apply for the on-campus housing successfully? Pretty slim chance, unfortunately. The graduate housing that we have on campus is very limited. There really isn't a whole lot to offer, and the the sort of the extra complication to on-campus housing is you won't find out about it until very late, when you really should be finding out about. You really should be securing off-campus housing before that. So the timing is not great either with on-campus housing. I would not put a lot of stock into that into the chances of that. I would focus on securing off-campus housing. Where can we find the elective petition form? It's on our website. We have a forms page. I'll give that information out at orientation. You shouldn't submit the elective petition form before orientation. We won't be processing it that early. So that's not something you have to worry about until after orientation. And in most cases, we would rather you take a CS course in your first semester anyway, and then you can maybe branch out in subsequent semesters. So for now, focus on CS courses, and I'll give you the link and stuff at orientation for that. Have the scholarships decisions been made? Someone asked this before. I don't know. Is the answer still? This is done by the admissions team. So I do not have that information. You would have to ask them if there are scholarships already awarded. When does co-op start? Is it after 4 semesters, or can we take co-op during the course? So you cannot start looking for a position until after you finish the co-op seminar. But when you start looking is dependent on a lot of different things. So I'm not going to really answer that question in detail because you really don't have to worry about it right now anyway. Worry about just registering for the co-op seminar, and at orientation, like I said before, the co-op coordinator will go over all this stuff in more detail, and she'll give you the timing of everything. Can we apply for an elective petition now? Nope, as I just mentioned, you shouldn't do it before orientation at the very least. And honestly, we really recommend that you take a CS course in your first semester anyway. Chances are pretty good that we'll deny an elective petition for your first semester. So focus on CS courses for now. Can we register for courses before we have our I-20? Yes, your I-20 has nothing to do with your ability to register for courses. Those two things are completely unrelated. And also, people will ask about the health report as well. Also unrelated for now to registering for courses. I know it says that you could be blocked from registration if you don't submit it, but the due date is not until, a couple of months, and you can register starting tomorrow. So don't worry about that right now. Register for classes. Make sure you get your health report in on time, and if you can't get it in on time, you should reach out to University Health and Counseling Services to make sure that they know what your status is. But otherwise, it's unrelated. All right. I think that pretty much covers all the questions. And I know we went over time as well. So I will at this point say we're all done. But you are more than welcome to email me or call me if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to help. Like I mentioned before, if you would like this PowerPoint, just send me an email. I can give you that too. And otherwise, I hope this was really helpful. And I can't wait to meet you all at orientation.